Hey guys, BJ on Game Day here. You got Brent. You do not have Joshy. Bit of a different feel this week. Unfortunately, Joshy had some other things he had to do tonight. He was a bit busy. And myself and the Bogan a little bit busy tomorrow night. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the show tonight just with myself. And Joshy will do a bit of a video probably tomorrow at some stage, possibly in response to a few of the things I mentioned tonight. If I stitch him up deluxe, he'll have a chance for a writer reply. But, yeah, unfortunately, no Joshy this week, so you'll have to get used to my monotone
I'll be here as
voice.
well.
And we've got the Bogan here as well to chime in
To
for anything
cough up a lung. I'll just adjust
that
my
I
sound.
missed.
I just realised my
And
levels.
for him to also just give us a bit of a hand tonight. So, see how we go.
Yeah,
so this week,
Joshy will be uploading a video with his trades and his tips, and I'm sure a few jabs back at you in the upcoming days.
Yep, sounds good. So, yeah, watch out for that one. This week, round 10. Basically, it was a bit of an interesting week, very different to last week. Obviously, with a lot of those guys that went big was a little bit more quiet this week. So 11.96 for myself. Look, can't complain too much with that score. I think it was around par this week, around that sort of 1,200 to 1,250 was about par. Ponga obviously was a big one. I think the difference this week was, if you did have Kalen Ponga and you did have Taumalolo, I'm probably captaining a couple of those guys. Maybe Fafita. Maybe you had a pod in Adam Fanua-Blake. And also Payne Haas. So Joshy with 12.35 this week, pretty solid score. I'm not entirely sure how far Joshy's moved up in the ranks of that one, but I actually dropped about 250 odd spots with my score, so I'm sitting around that 2,500, 2,600 overall. But yeah, fairly happy with where I am at the moment as we move into the buys in a couple of weeks. Moving on to crystal ball review, I believe. So a lot riding on this one from last week. So for those of you who tuned in, this is probably the one you don't want to lose. And it was in relation to eating a massive tablespoon of cat food, wet cat food to be precise, in conjunction with downing 6 raw eggs, Rocky style.
I don't think anyone wanted to see you guys throw up. Or maybe they did. But that's what would have happened with those 6 eggs.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'm not too keen on getting into any wet cat food either. So it was quite interesting on this one. I actually missed all my prediction as per. I don't think I've got one since the original one that I did in the very first week that we did this. So I think I had Mitch Moses to ton up. I had Reed Marnie to bounce back after a sub 40. And my wild and wacky was Lisa Naumal to outscore Manu Mao.
He nearly did.
He nearly did. He held his own, I think. But no, so none of mine came off. And quite interestingly, with Joshy's, I think he had I think he had Blake Ferguson to bounce back, if I'm not mistaken. And he had Latrell Mitchell to ton up, which also didn't happen. And what it came down to, which was pretty crazy actually, was his wild and wacky. Now, his wild and wacky last week was
combined scores of fullbacks will beat the combined scores of 5/8. No, he went 5/8.
He's gone the other way. So he's gone in favour of the 5/8. So every player that ran on in the 5/8 position over the weekend, their combined Supercoach points would be more than every player that ran out in the fullback position. So if we've got 16 teams playing, that was 16 players in each category. Sorry, that's double, isn't it? It's 32 players in each category, is it? You got all your 32 players in total, rather. Sorry, so you had 16 5/8s taking on 16 fullbacks, and it actually came down to the wire. The total difference was, I think, about 11 points or 10 points in the end. And I think Kalen Pong a ton and even the Brandon Elliott try in that last game of the round has saved me. So I was sweating on that one. I don't think Joshy really had much of an idea of what was going on with that, but I was paying pretty close attention to it. And as fate would have it, I was saved by the skin of my teeth in what was actually a really great Wild and Wacky. So happy, though, for that one. Thank God for that, because I was only one attacking stat away from me getting into it this week.
On to the games.
Game reviews from last week. So a few interesting games. It was started out on the Thursday night with Melbourne taking on the Tigers. And, I think a lot of people, after what Melbourne did the week before against Para and the way the Tigers have been, probably wrote the Tigers off pretty much straight away. But it was actually a very entertaining game of football in terms of the contest of it. The Storm ended up getting home. They had no right to win it, but they scored 2 tries in the last 10 minutes, including 1 try with about 3 minutes to go to win that one over the Tigers. I think the Tigers gave them a fair bit of curry last year in 2 games they played in the early part of the season. They knocked them off both times. So I think Tigers sort of proving to be a bit of a bogey side for the Storm of late. Supercoach-wise, Pappenheisen was the top scorer from Melbourne with 87. Felice Kafusi, the second highest scorer with 82. And for the Tigers, it was Robbie Farah with 85 points and Josh Aloiai with 73. Obviously, Pappenhausen, he showed he got an opportunity to start in the fullback position, and he showed what kind of player he actually is. He's I guess he's got that attribute that you sort of can't really buy or teach, and that's speed. And he's got it in spades. And he has shown that whilst Billy Slater's moved on for the Storm, they got plenty of up and coming talent to fill those positions, and definitely going to be a player to watch over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and they've got Jerome Hughes back this week, so Craig Bellamy a bit spoilt for choice there in that position.
Absolutely. So obviously Supercoach-wise, pretty interesting one with a lot of people getting on Pappenheisen. Look, he's still got a good rise this week, and he'll still have a really nice negative break even. But if he starts getting minutes off the bench, at least for this week, it might sort of slow bleed him. But they don't play round 12. He'll probably play round 16 with Munster out for the Origin, but you'll have to see how he goes between now and then. The second game of the round was the Warriors taking on Penrith in Penrith, and I don't know what you can really say about Penrith in this one.
I think they're going to bring the green sheets up for the Panthers soon. What can you say about them? They're terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's amazing to think, I think it was last year going into the finals series, they had a different coach and they were looking really good. They've sacked the coach before finals, put up a bit of a show, and then they've just gone worse since then. Warriors, look, the team you just can't really tip at the moment. They're just so up and down, but, maybe with the new halfback 5'8" there in Nicarima, they'll show us a little bit of difference. Top scorer for the Panthers, Supercoach-wise, was Vili Kikau. Scored a try pretty much on the buzzer from dummy half. Got some junk time points there, so pretty lucky for people that owned him like myself. Jimmy Tapau, pretty solid showing in base, and also Martin, the cheapie for the Panthers. And for the Warriors, you had young Patrick Herbert, who's playing out in the centres. He was a guy that a few people went on last week before the rise. And reap rewards. He scored a try off the back of Sheck. He's also got the kicking duties as well. So he actually looks like a really good buy, even though he won't play round 12, but a good pickup for those that had him. And the job security seems like it'll be pretty good because he looks pretty good. And obviously Sheck just continues to kill it this year. I think, 79 points from here. He set up a couple tries and just, since Sean Jensen's left, he's really stepped up. And, obviously Nicarima joining that side as well looked really good, scored a pretty nice try on the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how they go with those new combinations. The other game on the Friday, which was really another interesting game, was Brisbane taking on the Chooks. Brisbane getting home in this one by 5 points. Look, I watched this game and I still don't know how Brisbane won it. I guess at the end of the day, a lot of it came down to they just out-enthused them. When it mattered in those moments. I think Payne Haas was absolutely massive for them, and in my opinion showed why he's probably, whilst he still hasn't played too many games, there's no reason why he couldn't mix it in the Origin domain. He's just pretty much dominated the premiership winning forward pack there. So,
and apparently he's a New South Welshman as well.
Correct, yeah. So he's actually one of the good ones we got despite being up there in Brisbane. So, yeah, that's looking really good. I think coming off the bench, he'd be massive, but I guess it's just a question of whether he's deemed to be ready or not. But I think he wouldn't look out of place in a blue jersey this year. For the Chooks, it was Tedesco, the high scorer. He scored for a try early, and that was pretty much all they did in that one. There was a couple of penalty goals there. So Brisbane did really well. I guess testament to their defence, holding the defending premiers to just 10 points. And as I said, I think they just out-enthused them in the end. And Payne Haas was absolutely massive. I'm sure I don't have his stats in front of me, but he scored a try. He probably would have run for the most metres. And his impact just for those guys is enormous. And you'd have to say he's probably one of the best forwards in the team at the moment. So then we moved over to the Saturday. This is another funny game. The Titans took on Canterbury on Saturday afternoon, and the Titans got away to a screamer. They led 16-0 after about 20 minutes or something like that, and effectively shut up shop after that. Kieran Foran led the Dogs around well. Ockenbaugh was huge for them, scored a double.
And injured his foot, it seems. He's out for 4 weeks.
Yeah, so interesting news. I didn't actually really get to look at team lists until late this afternoon, but as it turns out, he's got I think it was a broken toe, and he's set to miss up to 4 to 6 weeks, which is massive news Supercoach-wise. I think everyone was really banking on him playing round 12, and now that he's not, I think he's a massive trade. I don't think you can really afford to hold him.
If you got on him early, that's a big profit.
Yeah, so I think he's done his job. He's made a lot of money. Yes, obviously it would have been nice to have him for 12, but I guess you have a luxury now and that he's just under 400K. He will, potentially be a nice little upgrade to someone that's currently a little bit out of form that's around that mid 400 sort of price. So could be a fun trade this week, depending on what you do, but also lots of rookie options available in the centre wings as well, depending on where you have him. Moving on from that one, it was on the Saturday. The second game on the Saturday was the Cows taking on the Eels. I guess Eels are another team, sort of like Penrith. I really expected them to win this one and bounce back in a big way after the demolition they copped against the Storm the week before, but it wasn't to be. I didn't actually get to see this game. But from what I can gather from the stats, obviously Tamalolo was huge. I think his work rate would have been absolutely massive because I'm not sure he had any attacking stats in that 94 points that he scored and top scored for the Cows. On the Para side of things, it was 69 points from Manu Ma'u, so Joshy actually picked him up this week. I know I did see at one point actually watching that game, he got a line break in there, but my understanding is most of those points for Big Manu would have been base, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Let me just have a quick squeeze. Excuse me. Yeah, so he played 62 minutes. He had some attacking stats in there, but it had 53 points in base. So really solid. Points per minute, 1.11. Probably looking like a pot at this stage. Joshy picked him up with a high break even, but I think it worked out for him. He's currently mid 500s and an 80 break even, but potentially an option moving into the buys for people. Sorry, Joshy, that you're trying to hide that pod. I can't let you have him. So moving on from that one, we had, I think it was on the Saturday night, another cracking game. We had
probably game of the week, this one. I'm a bit biased,
absolutely. Absolutely game of the week. It was the Raiders taking on South in a very cold Canberra stadium on the Saturday night there. And I think, in this one, whilst the Bunnies got home, Canberra showed that they're definitely going to be in the mix this year.
And if you like footy games of forward packs bashing each other, this one was a perfect one.
Yeah, it was a great game. And as I said, I think if Croker had held onto that ball, it was a great try save from Corey Allen. We could have been talking about this one in a little bit of different way. I think I've never seen Croker sort of lose a ball that close to the line the way he did. So, for the Raiders, it was Elliot Whitehead top scored. He has these games in him where he can go those sort of 70, 80, 90s when he gets those attacking stats, but he also has the 30s and 40s in him. Josh Papali was good. Kotrick was really good, staking his claim for Origin. For the Bunnies, it was Cody Walker again. Definitely head and shoulders his best season. Career-wise, by far, he scored another try basically from nothing off Cookie and set up a really crucial try for the Bunnies at the end there. But yeah, great game of footy. Sam Burgess gave away about 35 penalties, I think. So how he's even managed to finish on 30 or whatever he did is a miracle. I don't know how he didn't get binned. I'm dead set he gave 4 or 5 penalties in a row away. But yeah, Cookie was good. He was sort of pretty shut down, to be fair. He set up the one try for Walker and probably hurt a lot of people as it was a captain choice this week, but it could have been a lot worse. For him. Yeah, I put him at captain this week, but yeah, had worse captains, that's for sure. Moving on to the next one, it was my boys getting a big win over St. George. And yeah, I can't tell you the last time Newcastle put 40 points on a team, and it was pretty much from the word go. Dragons didn't really show up, and Caleb Ponga just had an awesome first half. Mitch Pearce was absolutely massive as well. He's proved why he was such a crucial buy for us. KP had a double before half time. He was on about 90-something points at half time, so the fact he's only finished sub 120 is quite amazing, to be honest, especially considering kicking goals and that sort of thing. He also had a try disallowed, which was a bit controversial, so he could have been, around that 140, 150 potentially had he been awarded that one. Yeah, Pearce was massive, obviously, the 2 tons there the last 4 weeks. He's been huge. He has, I think he's, Dally M-wise, he's polled 3 points in his last 4 games to put him second in the Dally M race. So those 12 points he's on has all been in the last month. For the Dragons, it was Tarek Sims. There wasn't a heap of highlights for them. He scored a try for them. Luciano Leilu was also pretty good for the Dragons as well, which is, I think he's a young back row with a lot of potential. In the next few years, it'd be good to see him get a few more minutes. But yeah, great win for us. And 4 on the trot. Big test for us next week up against the Chooks after they, of course, just had a bit of a shock loss. But yeah, big test for us next week. And to round out the round, it was, the Sharks in what would have to say is a big upset at the hands of a pretty understrength Manly. I didn't get to see this game. Obviously, Bogan, you and I were actually checking out Detective Pikachu.
Watched a bit of it in the cinema.
Yeah, while we were waiting in the previews there, we we had it streaming on the phone. Saw a bit of it, and I think once we had a look after that, I was shocked. As I said, I didn't really get to see it, but Manly have obviously could have been another one of those out enthused, or the Sharks have just sort of taken them too lightly. Supercoach wise, it was pretty big with a lot of conjecture around whether Fafita would or wouldn't play. Turns out he has played. He's turned up, which is just really sick, really, considering he wasn't even maybe going to play, and a lot of people did trade him out on the basis that he had the 140 break even. So, get a bit of that into you. And Adam Fanua-Blake was massive for the Eagles. He scored a try, but he has been really solid this year. I've mentioned him a few times, and he's as good as, he has limited minutes on the field, but his ability to break tackles and his hit-ups, the way he's involved is, he's starting to lift his game. Really interesting to see how he develops over the next couple of years. Jakey Turbo was solid again. He set up a try leading the way for a pretty understrength Eagles. But, great effort from the Eagles there in that one. I definitely didn't see that one coming. So, moving on to next week. So starting on Thursday, we have Para taking on Penrith. So, 2 teams at the moment under a bit of pressure. I think this one will be at the new home ground of the Eels there, so they've had some big wins there, and they need a win and a good win, and Panthers in the exact same boat. So interesting to see the Penrith turnout in terms of the fans at that one, but they'll be drowned out by the blue and gold contingent, I'm pretty sure. In that Para one, they've moved Fergo to centre, which is interesting. I think it's quite interesting that the Blues are looking for a right centre, and I don't know whether Brad Arthur's moved him there, because Takarangi wasn't working out, and they also want to fit Jennings into that side, which they've done. They've put Jennings and Sivo on the wings, but move Fergo in. It's a bit of a catch-22 there with Fergo, because anyone that's got him wants him to have a blinder because he might be a bit of a pod, but I think if he isn't already locked himself into a blue jersey, he's only one good game away from doing it. So if he happens to score a try or 2 this week, I think he'll find himself in the sky blue once again. Friday, we've got the Seagulls and the Titans. You know, it doesn't seem like the most exciting game in that time slot, but Supercoach-wise, some interesting ones in there with Jakey Turbo and Arrow playing. Rookie-wise, I think you got another look at Cade Cust, who's been named again to start at number 6. Didn't set the world on fire last week, but he'll probably play round 12, even if Cherry Evans is back. He'll be trying to play Origin. Another interesting one for the Titans I noticed this week was Jesse Arthurs, who's been named, I think, in the centres. So he's probably flown under the radar, but it's his 3rd game this week. He's bargain basement. He's dual in the centre wing fullback position, and he actually scored 32 points in base on the weekend, which is really good for a back. So, look, I think his security, I don't know what it's like at the Titans. I think Philip Sammy's out. I don't know where Brenko Lee is. They got Tyrone Peachy on the bench, but, you know, he's a potential option there if you're looking for something different. Then a massive game for my boys, and looking forward to this one on the Friday night, probably the prime time slot. Newcastle taking on the Chooks at home, so big test for our boys, find out where we're at. Look, I think we've had a good draw over the last month, but this game's really going to tell us where we're at, and probably a good time to play the Roosters. I know it's not ideal to be coming off a Roosters loss that wasn't expected, so we should get the best of the Roosters, but yeah, look, I think we're still a way off yet, but this will give us a good indication. And, you know, when you have guys like Caelan Ponga and Mitchell Pearce in form, anything can happen. And confidence is a funny thing for football teams. So, yeah, should be a good game for our boys. Moving on to the Saturday, you got the Raiders taking on the Cowboys. Raiders suffered a couple losses in the last couple of weeks to the Chooks and the Rabbits. They lost both those games by a try or less, so they're definitely up there, but they need to bounce back with a win. I think they should do so, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in that one. They just got to cement it to prove that they are a genuine contender this year. They have to ice those games and win them well. Supercoach-wise, you've still got Simonson on the wing there. He's only 181k if you want to take a punt on him potentially blowing up or being a bit of a pod in round 12. Gellin Mosby's been named on the wing for the Cows, so he's pretty cheap as well, I think. I think Hampton's been ruled out. They've also got Nano McDonald out, so he might get a few weeks in that jersey, and he should play around 12 as well, so there's another option. And an interesting one with those that got on Hudson Young in the back row. Joey Tapine's been named on the bench, so watch this space whether he actually chews into any of his minutes, if not starts, potentially in that back row spot in round 12, which will probably annoy a few people, but buyer beware. On the Saturday Arvo, we've got Warriors taking on the Bronx. Yeah, another really interesting game. Nicarima taking on his old club, and both teams on the back of some wins. So I think this could be a really good contest. I think traditionally the Warriors have always given the Broncos a bit of curry. So over there, Broncos want to sort of build on their big win against the Chooks last week and maybe get their season going. So a lot riding on that one for those ones. And yeah, obviously the last chance for a few guys that want to put their hand up for Origin to do that this week, and that applies to all the games. You got the Rabbitohs taking on the Tigers on the Saturday night. Yeah, depending on which Tigers team shows up, this could be a really good game or it could be an absolute slaughter. I think, yeah, the Rabbits obviously the form team of the competition. If they aren't, the Chooks are. But I think Rabbits have been, for mine, they're the best team in the comp so far. I'm expecting some big scores in this one, Supercoach-wise, from some players in that Rabbits side. And yeah, Supercoach-wise, nothing too massive stands out. I think the interesting one will be around whether guys like Cam Murray get picked for Origin. He's been awesome so far this year, but if he doesn't get picked, I think you almost got to have him for round 12. But surely I'd have to imagine he finds a spot on the bench, but we'll see what happens there. On the Sunday, we got the Bulldogs taking on the Storm. Look, Bulldogs gave Storm a run in this same fixture a few weeks back, but I'm expecting the Storm to do well in this one. Obviously, Supercoach-wise, most notably for most people will be the omission of Ockenbaugh with the broken toe 4 to 6 weeks. I think he's a trade. And, yeah, guys like Reece Martin still named on the bench, which is crazy. He scored 15 points on the weekend. You know, I think there's a lot of people that do well, not a lot, but I'm seeing a few teams that do have Reece Martin, and they'll be hoping that maybe he gets a last-minute promotion to the starting side, or maybe next week that's what happens. But I just have no idea why he isn't in that side getting the minutes. Obviously, we don't know what happens behind closed doors and attitudes and that sort of thing, but absolute madness.
With the Storm underperforming last week, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out firing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Storm, they haven't been impressive. I guess the difference with the Storm, they've had some really close wins. You think about the Dogs, you think about the game against the Cowboys. Obviously, last week they've just scraped home, but I guess at the end of the day, ultimately they are winning football games, and that's what they do best. Winning is a habit, and that's sort of inbuilt to their culture. Storm really need to. This is an important game for teams that have the bye next week. It's sort of like a 4-point win if you win, and you want that going into your week off. And obviously, then having a few guys playing Origin, you want to make the most of the squad while you have them. Obviously, most notably Supercoach wise, it looks like Hughes is back, and he has been named at fullback, unless that's a Swiftie from Bellamy. Bit rough there. But yeah, I think Pappenhausen should play round 16 at least, but it's just whether he bleeds too much cash over the next sort of month before that happens as to whether you hold or trade. And to round out the round, we've got Dragons taking on the Sharks. Both of these teams have obviously come off the back of losses. Dragons are absolutely in all sorts. They've made a raft of changes to the back line. Dufty's been dropped. Lomax has been named to start at fullback. I think Lomax looks awesome, by the way. If he was playing round 12, I'd probably get him straight in. Kicks goals as well. Dufty missed some really ordinary one-on-ones for a fullback last week. Aitken promoted back into the starting side. Jai Fields kept his spot. But, yeah, the Dragons are a team. They're in a bit of pain at the moment, and they really need a win. And obviously a bit of the Sutherland sort of, what is it, the rivalry there with the Dragons and the Sharks, and Dragons Cronulla needing to bounce back as well. Matty Moylan's been named in the 21, so interesting to see if he plays and what actually happens there, whether if he does get named and moves back into, does he move back to fullback? Does he take Flanagan's spot at 5'8"? Does a move of Dugan impact Jerry? Some interesting ones there. So, yeah, should be some interesting games this weekend.
All right. Going into trades.
Trades this week. So
change places. Change places.
Always talking during the fucking intro.
On to the trading floor this week. So a bit of recap from last week. Myself, I had JB. Johnny Bateman, decided to get rid of him. I guess you just don't know exactly when he's going to come back. And, whilst he's maybe expected to be back at a certain time, if these things get extended, they can hurt you. I wanted to ask
this because at the start of the season, you said, both of you blokes said, never trade a gun.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think when you have a guy that he was going to be there for round 12 coverage, he's worth $600,000, a fractured face, could be anything. He had a high break even. I understand what you're saying. There's always that never trade a gun.
So trade a gun if he breaks his face.
Potentially, or if you're going to go a gun to another gun, and the price is like, for me that week it was a straight swap for Johnny Bateman to Taumalolo. Look, yeah, you could argue that it's a waste of a trade, especially if you're going to bring Bateman back in, which I definitely think he's one of the top 4 centre wings that you can pick Supercoach-wise because of his ability to be picked in the centre wings. But, they've had some issues in their outside backs as well. Who's to say he doesn't come back and get named in the centres, which then starts to affect his output base-wise and that sort of thing. He'll have 100 break even. So now if he comes back, doesn't play a full game and gets 40 points, you're going to get him at a discounted price maybe, or woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if, who knows. But, yeah, look, you put me on the spot with that one, but that's the best I got for you. I actually made another trade in addition to this one last week as well, as I sort of prepare for the buys as best I could. I still had Andrew McCulloch, so I decided to go to Josh Hodgson last week. It freed up some cash for me. I think Joshy Hodgson's bottomed out, and I just think he's so close to a score. He looks really good every week. He just hasn't got the points. His break even was mid-40s, and he pretty much hit that. So I think it puts his break even around similar this week. And, yeah, I think he could be a little bit of a pod as we head into round 12. So, yeah, that was my other trade that I hadn't mentioned last week. Joshy, no, we're moving on to mine.
Yeah.
So these are a couple of trades I was looking at. Joshy will probably talk about his trades tomorrow, I'd imagine. He'll do his bit tomorrow. A couple of maybe interesting ones. These ones are, look, at the moment it's really interesting with round 12 coming up. You sort of, do you start burning trades because you're looking like you're going to be short? You don't want to have 9 or 10 players for round 12 because it's just not enough. And you start to think, do I need to build my numbers up a bit because 12, 13, 14 is definitely a lot healthier. For me, it's definitely thinking about that. I really don't like this buy round coming up. But the trades I'm looking at, this was before I knew Ockenbaugh was out as well. When I sent this message through the Bogan, I hadn't checked team lists, which I said to him, and found out since then Ockenbaugh's out. So I reckon Thomas McKaylee, Tigers prop, he's about mid-200s. I'm thinking of going, it's pretty much a straight swap to Jai Whitbread. I'll wait to see on team lists at this one with Jai Whitbread named on the bench, in the 17 at the moment, but on the bench. I think with Jared Wallace, Jai Arrow that will be probably playing Origin. I'd have to assume they're both playing Origin. This guy is actually really good in the minutes that he gets on the field. It could be seen as a bit of a waste of a trade, but I do want to try and build my numbers up a little bit better for round 12. And I think if this guy could get like 40 minutes at the moment, he's getting around that 30-minute mark and still getting pretty good output. But if he can get, an extra sort of 10 minutes in that round 12 and, potentially depending on what happens after Origin, whether Arrow and Wallace back up, he could be a bit of a slow burn cow, which means he might still be able to pump out 40s and maybe make me another 50 or 100,000, whereas McKaylee just isn't capable of that at the moment. He's just not getting the minutes. I think he looks awesome, Thomas McKaylee. I think he's a real good up-and-comer, but Supercoach-wise, he was a cheapie to start the year. But, he's not doing anything for me at the moment. So, bit of a double hope in that trade there. The other one, this one you could criticise me on, Cade Cast. I'm not sure what's happening with Dylan Brown. I've held him this whole time on the hope he was going to be back for round 12. I have seen some rumours around that he is running, so I think I might actually not pull the trigger on this one. Cade Cuss, it's a bit of a desperate trade. He is bottom bargain basement. He is only pickable at halfback, which is a bit rubbish. It would be nice if he was dual, even though he did play 5'8" on the weekend as well. But maybe I'll give Dylan Brown another week because I'd be filthy if I trade him out and he actually somehow got named next week. But probably won't happen. So I'll probably have a closer look and probably end up going like Ockenbaugh to, maybe it is a Simonson, maybe it is a Arthurs or a Gella Mosby, bank a fair bit of cash. And then with my 2 last trades next week, I might be able to bring a bit of firepower and upgrading a Dylan Brown or, Caleb Aitkins, who I have in my team at the moment that I was hoping would play around 12, but doesn't look like he will play. So that's me for this week. Let us know what you're doing. On to the fortune teller. Obviously, I think I'd have to assume that what was on the line last week just rolls forward to this week. So Joshy's going to have a bit of a jump on me this one. I think there's plenty of really good options this week for our ton-ups and redemptions. I guess you could argue with the redemption arc. I've played it a little bit safe on the back of Sammy Burgess conceding 30,000 penalties. He went sub 40, so I am tipping him to bounce back to go 75 plus.
I'd have to look, but that would have to be his lowest score of the year.
Definitely well. Sammy's lowest score of the year. It was just, I think he literally conceded 5 penalties last week. I think not only will he bounce back, but I reckon he's due for a pie. And, I think the Tigers could be in for a bit of a long night this weekend. I've gone Josh.
Great fucking Tigers are going to win now.
Yeah, I've put the Mickey on him. Josh Yaddo-Carter ton up. So he's been pretty quiet this year. He's the kind of player, rocks or diamonds. He'll either score 110 or 10, but I think he's due. I was tempted to go a few other people this week, but I'm not going to mention them because Joshy's probably going to have a look at this at some point. But I'm throwing it in there. I'm going Josh Yaddo-Carter to ton up this week. Wild and Wacky. Now, this is the one I'm shithouse out every week. I've said to the Bogan, I'll get back to you on this one. I haven't. I still don't know what I'm going to do. I'm piggybacking off the back of something Joshy's done around players. I really don't know. I just think the subjective nature of this one makes it so dodgy in terms of the, it's not black and white around what's an acceptable one or not.
George Burgess to only concede 2 penalties.
I'm still not sure. I want to do something like what Joshy did with the, the fullbacks and the 5'8s. Like I want something like the props that wear 8 score more than the props that wear number 10 or something like that. I don't know. I will converse on this with Joshy and the Bogan, and maybe we'll have to slap it into the comments to cement it, or we'll put it somewhere, unlike a couple of weeks ago with the conjecture.
At BJ on Game Day on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll make it official that BJ on Game Day on Twitter. Jump on there and give us a follow if you haven't already. I'm getting on there and trying to interact every now and then, and putting some thoughts up there. But... Not nearly enough. Apologies. I'm a busy man these days, as everyone is, but I'll do my best. I'll make it official on Twitter, though. I'll have to, make sure it's all legit with Joshy and the Bogan, and we'll get back to you on that one. But a lot riding. Just another plug for the Twitter, though. As I said, at BJ on Game Day, I'm sort of behind that one. Sorry, guys. I do tend to be slack at times, but I'm just not very much in the Twitter sphere. So I do my best, and then I remember that I've forgotten to update it. Oxymoron there, but we're on Twitter. Joshy's he's sort of behind the BJ on Game Day Facebook page. You jump on there, interact with us there if you want to. Always happy to get in contact with people and talk anything Supercoach, any forum that it is, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube comments, whatever it is, just get amongst it. We love it. Jump in the Supercoach group that the Bogan set up for us. Code there, 701371. I actually jumped on and had a look. I think it was yesterday, Bogan, and it's growing.
There's some fucking good players in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we've got some people listening in that are actually doing pretty well this season. Quite a number of teams in the top 1,000, which is awesome to see. And
I am the worst person in the group.
So Bogan's the worst one in the group. So, which, to be fair, mate, you're still doing it every week. So we've obviously got some educated people following us, and
here's
it's great to see.
Here's the thing: I'm going really good in my public league that I got auto assigned to, and I'm going pretty good in that other league that you're in as well. So I think it might just be the BJ and Game Day leagues and the groups a little bit stronger than average.
Yeah, as I think we've said a few times, it's a crazy solid league, bar those couple of guys that look like they aren't playing or whatever happened there. But yeah, it's awesome to see, and obviously it means that we're interacting and communicating with people that are keen, that play, and have very much have an idea of what they're doing, as is reflected with our top weekly scores. So the Ginger, I think it's been a little bit of a while since he showed up here, but a massive 1286 for the week. Followed closely by Checkmate Mana. It was only a matter of time before he bounced back to one of these top weeklies with 1253, and Rangers De Janeiro with 1238, and he actually knocked Joshy off in a really close head-to-head.
We're going to have to do something for when Ginger plays Rangers De Janeiro. Blood Nut Cup or something.
Oh, the Blood Nut Cup, absolutely.
I don't know what round they play each other, but...
Blood Nut Cup, I like it. Look, those boys doing the Rangers proud. The Strawberry Blondes representing, punching above their weight. Merrins, I like to call them Clint Newtons because, it's all well and good for Merrins to date a surfer, but how does Clint Newton get a date with Miss Universe is beyond me. Anyway, so there's your top weeklies. Well done, fellas. Good scores there. In the overall, the Bunny Snags still charging along. Look, 1168 wasn't awesome, wasn't terrible. I think he blew out to, I think I had a quick look, he was 70-odd, 71 overall or something like that. So he's pretty well in front at the moment. He's got about that 250-point lead on Rangers, who
it's getting smaller, though. That lead is
our second highest score of the week. And, yeah, he's closing the gap. And interesting with the Snags will be how he goes at round 12. I think I had a look at his team and he wasn't looking great for round 12, to be honest. So I think there's some big ground that could be made on the Snags come round 12, but we'll see what happens. interesting as well with the snags, knocked off by Big Ted. Now, Big Ted, a guy from season 1 last season there, he's been an original with us. Big win for him. He was slagging him, I think, on Twitter, I think it was, getting into the snags, which was great to see. Teddy, well done, mate. So big result there. I can't see the top right, the first result. Who knocked off Gangsters, Gaggers, Bogan?
Dr. K. Ando.
Dr. K. Ando. So Kano's knocked off Gangsters, Gaggers. The Gaggers have been calling quite well, bit of a quiet week there. So 100-point win for Kando. Obviously, Big Teddy's knocked off the snag. So big result there for the Ted Meister. Puts himself into second on the head-to-head with that result. And that was a good win for him. Pete Top, Kevin Bottoms absolutely thumped the threat, who looks like a guy that is no longer playing, unfortunately. Nice little for and against bumper there for Jesse. Rangers has knocked off the circus in probably, I guess you could say, match of the round in terms of closeness.
And still undefeated.
I think going into the after the last game, they were tied on 12.42 each. I think I saw something, and some revisions played into it, as they always do. And the Rangers has got home by 3 points, and in doing so, retains his immortality. Look at that. 8 wins, 0 losses, sits on top. Daylight in second there. He's 2 wins clear of Big Ted. So well done, Rangers. Blakey, who's going to stop this guy, because he's almost got one hand on the minor premiership.
And
we'll see what happens.
on that Carmichael Hunt or Gasnier figurine.
Yeah. Potentially, depending on where you're from, New South Wales or Queensland, you might prefer Hunt or Gasnier or not. I don't know. but
you might not want either.
You might not want either, but too bad. And if you don't want either, I'll keep it. But, so Marty, one of our Marty there from last season, one of our original followers that interacts with us a fair bit. He's pumped out a nice little 1,200 this week, knocked off my mate Brendo with 11.23. Going over to the remaining fixtures. Hell's Grannies has thumped. I can only imagine that's
Brendan's bashes.
Spud. Brenda's bashes there. He hasn't even scored 700, so he's going to be a nice little for and against booster, him and the threat by the looks of things. No doubt I'll play Brendan's bashes in round 12 when he has 13 players or 17 players. I knocked off Stevie Woods, and he's gone Nathan Cleary as captain. I've got no idea what he was thinking there, but thank you, Stevie. I'll take that one, boosting my little head-to-head there. Ginger, obviously top scorer of the week. Checkmate was really unlucky. He was the second highest scorer of the week, and this is why I absolutely despise head-to-head comps. You got the top scorer playing the second top scorer. Filthy if you checkmate, unlucky buddy. Fire and Ice, Leanne's popped out a nice little 1,200 over What's a Pod, my mate Trent.
Is that done. 4 in a row for Leanne?
Yeah, I think Leanne was looking at a big donut the week she played Joshy as well, and she's gone 4 on the trot since. So well done, Leanne, building nicely. Could be a bit of a smoky if she can crawl into the final series. Plenty of work to do yet, but that's a good win. And the Bogan, cop the sausage from the Farkin Cowboys. Marky was also an original from last season with us, so good to see our faithfuls getting the results over newbies.
Over to the league ladder, top 3.
The league head-to-head ladder. So obviously, Rangers de Janeiro, that 3-point win over Josh on the weekend's given himself a 2-win buffer and a big 900 odd for and against. So he's looking really good to give himself an opportunity for a Gaz or Hunt, whatever it is, play a figurine. Big Teddy, I think Blake and Ted are mates, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be Ginger and Ted that are mates, but Joshy's told me, I think one of those mates is Ted, but Teddy's sitting in second there, good to see. And in third, we've got Brendo, my mate, I went to school with, who he's actually had a draw, so he's sitting outright third at the moment, which is quite interesting. It's amazing to think you could actually have a draw in this game when you think of all the things that can happen in terms of the number of players and other variables. But anyway, so that's our top 3 in the head-to-head.
Yeah, Joshy was actually, after games finished on Sunday, he was tied as well, but he seems to have lost points on the review.
Yeah, they were 12.42 each. I remember seeing something because I think Rangers didn't play Adam Fanor-Blake. He had the 119 on the bench, which is sick. But yeah, anyway.
Fixtures next week.
Next week's fixtures. So we have Gangsters Gaggers taking on the Bunnings Snags. So the Snags, interesting game that one. The Snags will be looking to bounce back after the loss to the Ted last week. Kando will have a bit of a for and against booster taking on the Threat.
Big game.
Big matchup. Probably matchup of the round.
I think this explains everything. Joshy's at home hiding under his blanket. He knows
Absolutely.
He knows Big Ted's coming for him.
Absolutely. Blood in the water from last week. This will be a match for the ages. Joshy taking on Big Ted. Massive bragging rights on the line here. Big Ted touched me up earlier in the season, so he's got that one over me, and he'll be loving if he can do the double on us this week. So, yeah, watch out for that one. And Teddy will be looking to build on his second place at the moment, and Joshy will need to – he's fallen out of touch big time. He needs a win, and he needs it badly. Marty taking on Pete Top, Kevin Bottom. Both of those blokes need a win to sort of keep in touch with the 8 there. Hell's Granny's taking on Rangers, so – Wayno was our I think he was our total points winner in the league last year, and he finished well into the top 1,000. So he definitely knows what he's doing. He's more than capable of knocking off RDJ there, Rangers. So and now, that's the man everyone wants. Someone wants a bite of that donut. So moving on, I'll be taking on. Is it Brendo? Is it my mate Brendo? I can't. Yeah. So there we go. Clash for the ages there. Bit riding on that one. The Ginger will boost the for and against the Bashers there. Can't wait till I play the Bashers. Leanne looking to make it 5 in a row, I think, taking on Steve. So Steve, I think he's just got to stop captaining Cleary. No doubt he'll probably throw the VC on him this week. He's a Cleary, fanboy or whatever you want to call him. The fucking Cowboys, Marky will take on Marner. Checkmate should be a really good game. Shecky's looking to bounce back there. He's actually got a pretty ordinary head-to-head at the moment as well, even though he's doing quite well in the total points. So he'll be looking to get string a few wins together. And the Snakes taking on my mate Trenner. What's a pod? So, the Snakes, you need to get a win if you're not going to. You're not guaranteed to get. You're guaranteed not to get the spoon, but let's see you try and fight for the 8 there, mate. Let's see how you go.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty much us, guys. As I mentioned, jump on Twitter at BJ on Game Day, jump on Facebook and have a chat to us, BJ on Game Day. If you like the videos, share us around, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us what you're thinking, what's something interesting you've noticed this week, what trades you're making. Obviously, we've got the SuperCoach group code 701371. Jump into that. Everyone's welcome. And pretty much.
Just before we wrap up, Breno, do you want to have a look at that score? The Tunnel Snakes versus Pingaponga in the simulation game.
The simulation game we've got in the background is the Tunnel Snakes toweling up Pingaponga. I'm sure the Bogan's gone in and altered the squads prior to that one because that just wouldn't happen. I'm calling silly buggers on that one there, but no, look, looking forward to playing in the head-to-head. We'll see how it goes.
I've been here once in head-to-head this year in another
it doesn't
league.
Count. It's not in the league that matters, mate. It's not in the league that matters. So don't worry about that one.
My public league is the only one that matters.
Look, last week before you head into buys, you get 4 trades between now and the buys. Make them count. That's whether you make them or you don't. May the trade gods be kind. All the best for your teams, and look out for Joshy's video tomorrow night. I don't think I stitched him up too much, but I'm sure he'll be probably picking Sam Burgess and Nato Carr to cancel out the crystal ball because he's a pussy. Thanks, guys.